everybody, welcome to our Jenna Rae Cakes video tutorial. We're going to start off with one of our most popular designs, and that is our works cake. We do a bunch of these a week, so it's a good one to show you guys to start off with. So what we have here is an 8-inch cake. I have it crumb coated and ready to go. It's raspberry lemon on the inside, delicious. So the outside of this will be our American style buttercream. So we use this on all of our buttercream cakes. It's the best buttercream for those sharp edges that I find. We use Swiss meringue as well, but that's only for our fondant cakes. So I'll be coloring that with our Maricolor gel color. So I have soft pink and sky blue. This coloring is the best kind that we use for all of our treats, including our macarons, our cakes, our cookie sandwiches, anything that we want to color. So this is great. And then toppings for our works cake, you can pretty much use whatever you have on hand. I like to use things that we have at our bakery already. So we have our macarons, mini and regular sized. We have our meringues that are great for just filling in all the little gaps with the works cake style. We have sprinkles, and we have our chocolate covered Oreos. So this I'll be cutting in half to use on the cake when the time comes. And then also our chocolate ganache, which is what we use for our drip. So that will be put on the cake once the buttercream coat is finished. So I think that's everything. Oh, and the tools we use. So this is I'm not quite sure what this is called. I use it all the time, but an offset spatula. I think that's what it is. And then our bench scraper. So these are the tools you use to get those nice crisp edges, which I will show you in a second. Yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start with adding the colors. So start with pink. So you just add as much as you want. It depends on the color and the look that you're going for. I like doing a bit lighter colors usually, but I think I'm gonna do a bit darker so you can see on camera. So you just wanna blend it in. You don't even have to blend in the color the full way because you do kind of want that streaky look when you add them together. Okay, so that's good for the pink. And then for the blue. Okay, so same thing, I don't want it too blended in. So this is good here. Okay, so I'm gonna make some room on the side. So you take your offset spatula and you just start by adding both colors kind of randomly around the cake, however you want to do it. And you want to keep the layers quite thick at first because you will be scraping it off. So it's better to have too much on there than too little. Keep going around, alternating colors. So you can do as many colors as you want in this, but keep in mind that when you do add two together, they always mix together and kind of make that third color. So you don't want to get too crazy or else it's just going to be a big mess. All right, so that's all covered. So at the top, let's take a bit of both. Not that it really matters because it's going to be covered with the chocolate ganache drip, but just in case. So for the top, you want to hold your spatula nice and flat and just spin the cake. So you don't even have to move the spatula at all, you just spin the cake. You want it to be nice and flat so you have that flat surface for the ganache to spill off of. Okay, and then now for the edges. So you take your baker's blade here and then you just hold it straight and then spin the cake. So at first you don't want to take off too much, you want to just lightly kind of graze the edges. Just get down and take a look. So it's looking pretty good. And you see how that nice, the color variation is all blending together, but still defined colors, which is what you want. Okay, so you take a look at your cake. If there's any kind of gaps, then instead of constantly scraping it down, because then that way you can get right to the cake and you have to add more icing, it's just going to be a nightmare. Instead of doing that, you just want to fill in the little gaps with some extra buttercream and build it up that way, and then scrape it again. Okay, same thing. it's always nice to get eye level with a cake so you can tell what 90 degrees is. Another really good trick that I use is if I'm just not getting it doesn't look straight to me, I'm not sure, you just hold it in front of a mirror and then you can see right then. It's a really good trick to have to get those straight edges. Okay, and then now for the top part, this is always the hard part for people, to get that crisp 90-degree angle. First off, you want to make sure your cake is cold. So if your cake is getting too warm, if this takes you a while, throw it back in the fridge for another 5-10 minutes and then take it out and try again. So when in doubt, just make sure your cake is cold. It's always a good place to start. So you just take it and bring that icing from the outside to the middle. So it always takes a couple goes, so it's still a little rough on top, which is okay because we are covering it with a chocolate. And then take a look. It's actually looking pretty good. So I'll take my cloth and then I always clean around the edges. And then I like to give it one final pass here. You want to scrape off your blade every time you take some off the top here, because if you have some on your blade still, it's just going to make a mess, and it can get very frustrating. Okay, so that is the final buttercream layers. I'm going to throw it back in the fridge, let it chill for another 5 to 10 minutes before we add the chocolate ganache on, because if you add it on too soon and the buttercream is too soft, it's going to melt and you're going to lose that crisp edge that you worked so hard for. So 5 to 10 minutes in the fridge until it's firm to touch, and then we'll add the ganache. So while you're waiting for your cake to firm up in the fridge, you can take a piping bag and use the extra buttercream that you have. The mixed color is okay too, that's kind of what you want. So I'll take that and then kind of alternate the scoops of different colors. So this is what you're going to use on the top to attach all your treats to the top of your works cake. So just get that all in there. Okay. So then you want to cut it. So usually I cut it about here. I'm terrible with measurements, so it looks like an inch to me, but who knows? So there we go. I'll put that aside and use it later. Okay, so our cake has been in the fridge for about 10 minutes, so you can tell it's ready for the ganache when you touch the top and it doesn't stick to your finger, and it's nice and firm. So I've heated up our ganache in 30-second increments. It only took 2 times. So the trick that I use to know when it's ready is I'll shake it for you, and the sound it makes, that's when you know. Nice and runny. We will share our recipes with the ganache and the cake and the icing and all that stuff later on. We just can't yet, but that will be coming. So you take your ganache, and so everyone always asks how I get the slanted drips that I get. It's literally the first way I did it, and I've never altered from that since, so it's pretty easy. So I always start by picking up the cake, and then I pour the ganache on top. So just about till there. And then you just spin it slowly, and so it kind of goes over the edge on all sides. This always drips on me, so be ready to get a little chocolate places, but it's fine. And then you just keep going around, give it a little shake. So I always err on the side of too little than too much, because then you're going to cover up all that icing that you did. So there you go. See? Chocolate everywhere. It's a messy process. So there you go. You can see the slanted drips everywhere. So now what you want to do is put your cake back in the fridge and let this firm up for at least 10 to 15 minutes. You want the chocolate to be nice and firm. Otherwise, when you start piling all your goodies on top, they're going to start sliding off. So you definitely don't want that. So we'll put it back in and I'll show you how it looks when it's all firmed up. Okay, so our cake has been chilling for about 15 minutes in the fridge. If you touch the top here, some chocolate will come off on your finger, and that's totally fine. You can work with it a bit cooler if you wanted to. I'm just a little impatient, I want to get going, so it's good enough. So what we do for the works cake is we take our icing bag, and I start with a peak in the middle, And then I just build up around that peak. So just going out, you want fairly big sized peaks. So that's good. And then you want to make sure the chocolate is still soft enough that you can stick things to it. That's something to keep in mind too. If the chocolate's completely firmed up, it won't be sticky anymore and you'll have to use icing to get everything on. So I'm going to add a little bit more icing here. And then I always put a little bit more just in the center. So usually I'd put a plaque on the top like I mentioned before, but this time we don't have one here, so I'm just gonna use just macarons. So you wanna choose the front of your cake, and I think I like this as my front. So whatever you put in the middle would kind of like face out like that. And then I'll start with my macarons here. I kind of just place them around the cake here. Okay, and then I like to do some on this side too. So I'll do one here. Okay, and then I'll go to my next thing, which is my chocolate covered Oreos. So I kind of like the faces to go out like this, the cut pieces. And I kind of stick them in between all the spaces there. So again, there's no rhyme or reason to this really, but I like to just play around with it and see whatever looks best. Okay, perfect. Oh, and we need one on this side too, so I usually go like, it's hard doing it from this angle. Like this. So I'm gonna put a little bit of icing here just to make sure it sticks. Just a little bit of chocolate there to hold it, but not enough. Okay. And then I'm gonna add sprinkles now so it has more of the buttercream to kind of adhere to before I add on the meringues. So this can get everywhere, just FYI. Okay. All right. So then meringues are my final, it's my baby making noise up there. Oh yeah, I also have the little mini macs, so I'll add those now. Kind of stick them there, and maybe one out front here. Okay. And then for these guys, we make a couple different sizes at the bakery, so it's good to have a couple different options to fill in certain spaces. So my general rule of thumb for this is I want to cover most of the chocolate and the buttercream on top of the cake. So it's really full and fun and has a ton of visual interest. Okay. So you can kind of spin it around as you do it. Another thing I would strongly suggest investing in if you don't have one already is a turntable like this. I believe this one's just off Amazon. It makes cake decorating so much easier. I used to, when I first started, I didn't have one. I didn't think I needed one and I was trying to save my money. But it definitely makes everything a whole lot easier. And especially if you're trying to get those straight edges, like there's no other option. So just something to think about, and they're not too expensive. So I like adding a couple in the front here coming down. I just think that's really cute. And then same here on the side. Just add some. So usually I do gumballs as well, but at the bakery, but I don't have them here, so we'll have to do without. It's all about whatever you kind of have on hand and what kind of candies you want to add. Okay. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. Maybe one more here. And there. And one more. You can just keep going and going and going, so you gotta stop eventually, so I'm gonna stop. And there you go. So this is our works cake. So at the shop, we let people choose the color they want and the flavor, and then we kind of have fun with the rest of it. So it's really fun cake. It's really open to interpretation. You can make it your own by adding your own toppings, whatever you want to do. We've done mini cream puffs on top. We've done mini cookie sandwiches. You can do candy of all sorts. So it's really fun, and you can make it your own however you'd like. So now I'll put it back in the fridge, let it firm up, and then I'm going to cut into it. Okay, so now it's time to cut our cake and look inside. This is always my favorite part. I don't get to do it much because obviously when I make cakes like this and sell them, the clients are the ones who cut into them and I don't get to see. So I'm not the best cutter, I will admit that, but make sure you use a sharp knife. You can use serrated. I like to use the straight edge ones, and I heated it up a little bit in hot water, which helps too. So there's a lot of tutorials online about how to cut cakes and get the most servings, but I'm just going to cut a big slice here for visual effect. Okay. All right. So there we go. Yummy. So there we go. So as you can see, this is our lemon raspberry cake. So there's layers of lemon curd and raspberry buttercream. It's my favorite, so I'm excited to take a bite. And then this is the inside view. So there you go. So this is our works cake. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned some stuff here. If you have any questions at all, just leave some comments for me and I'll get back to you about any questions that you have. And then let us also know what else you want to see. If you want to see any other specific cake design, any other technique, we'll be happy to do a bunch of these for you guys. So thanks so much for watching. See you later.